except the Federal Reserve itself published a staff paper that says tick data is wrong, and it's off by roughly $1.4 trillion. In October 2025, 6 Fed economists released a paper titled Cross-Border Trail of the Treasury Basis Trade. And the short version is this: hedge funds registered in the Cayman Islands are holding roughly $1.85 trillion of U.S. Treasuries. They've added $1 trillion to that position since 2022, and the official cross-border numbers have not been capturing it. Now, if this is accurate, the Cayman Islands now hold more U.S. Treasuries than Japan does. So what are these hedge funds doing? They're running something called the Treasury Basis Trade. And here's how it works in plain English. A hedge fund buys a treasury bond in the cash market. At the same time, it sells treasury futures contract for delivery a few months out. Small price gap between those two lets the fund lock in a few basis points of profit, basically risk-free as long as the market stays stable. But a few basis points is tiny. So to make the business work, the funds crank up the leverage, and they crank it up a lot. They borrow in the repo market to finance the bond purchases, often at a 50-to-1 leverage or higher. And then they do it again and again, and they do it at scale. See, this is a machine. It eats small spreads and spits out big returns, as long as two things stay true. Repo financing stays cheap and treasury volatility stays low. Now, we have seen what happens when those two conditions break. In March of 2020, when COVID hit, repo rates spiked and treasury volatility exploded. The basis trade funds had to dump bonds into an already illiquid market. The Fed had to step in with emergency buying. And the Fed's own October 2025 paper notes that the basis trade positions today are now bigger than they were in 2019 and 2020. $1 trillion bigger. This is what Paulson is actually worried about. See, he lived through what happened when leveraged trades have to unwind into a market that isn't ready. He wrote the 2008 playbook because there wasn't one at the time.